President Biden touted his electric vehicle and infrastructure plans yesterday during remarks at a Ford facility in Michigan. The commander-in-chief claimed though China was currently leading the race for green tech, the U.S. would soon take over the world market. But environmental and energy policy experts say America is far behind and should instead work with other global superpowers to achieve mutual climate goals. So for more on this, let's bring in CBS News climate and energy reporter Cara Korte. Thanks for joining us this morning, Cara. Just how far behind is America in the competition to produce green energy technology?
We're significantly lagging at this moment, Anne-Marie, and really the entire world is as compared to China. The United States is the second leading supplier of these critical rare earth materials, critical minerals. That's what we're talking about here. The U.S. supplies 7% compared to China, which leads with 45%. So there's a huge gap, not only for the U.S., but the rest of the world. And the reason why these materials really matter is because these are the minerals that are used to produce things like lithium batteries. So we're talking about lithium, copper, magnesium, nickel, rare earth minerals. All of these materials are extremely crucial to this kind of 21st century green energy economy. What oil and gas was for the 20th century, these minerals are going to be for the 21st century. You've heard the president talk about this. He's called it a race. This is how critical the competition is to get a hold of this market. And right now the U.S. is behind, so it's interesting to hear the president. We hear him talk about this so much, but in reality, everyone really lags far behind China.
So speaking of those critical materials, green technology, of course, is becoming very popular, and every country has ambitious goals. But an international agency report found that there may not be actually enough critical materials available to match the world's climate ambitions. How significant is the demand for resources in green technology, and how can leading countries actually bridge that gap?
This is kind of the good and bad news of the situation, Anne-Marie, is that there are opportunities for growth for a country like the United States or its allies that want to counterbalance China's dominance here. But this report from the IEA, which is the major watchdog, global watchdog when it comes to these kind of global energy matters, said that there's a looming mismatch between what is currently being supplied and what we need in order to reach something like the United States goal, which is to reach a net zero greenhouse gas emissions economy by 2050. So some numbers are just staggering. They say that more lithium for those batteries that are going to make it into wind turbines and solar panels and electric vehicles, there needs to be a 6 times increase on the current supply of minerals. That's for electric vehicles. For onshore wind, for example, an onshore wind plant needs 9 times the mineral input as compared to a traditional energy plant. So that's another huge increase that the world needs to supply in order to meet its climate goals. And lithium batteries, this report says, needs to increase by a 30% increase as to what is currently being produced. So the president says, we hear from all different world leaders that the next 50 years are absolutely critical for the world's fight against the climate crisis, and a huge part of that is meeting the demand with these critical minerals.
I thought this was really interesting because I wonder if it's human nature sometimes to need a competitor or need someone or something to beat. But you spoke to an environmental and public policy professor who called the president's anti-China sentiment counterproductive as the U.S. continues to frame its future in green energy in what she calls bipolar terms, right? We got to beat them. It's us and them. Why does she say that's counterproductive?
Yes, exactly, Anne-Marie. That us versus them rhetoric, which, by the way, makes President Biden very similar to his predecessor, right? It's us versus China. We've even heard President Biden say it's us versus the rest of the world. We have to win this race for the 21st century. And the experts I spoke to say that's a little that there's a chance that could go too far, that could be problematic when we pose that this problem is us versus China, or us versus the rest of the world. So such a polar argument. We obviously have a lot of other geopolitical tensions with China. other allies, other adversaries we have in the rest of the world. And when China right now has such an upper hand on the market, they have a lot of control. Now, what's important, though, is in that same IEA report we just talked about, Anne-Marie, one of the key aspects to bridging that gap, experts say, is actually cooperation. So we need competition. Obviously, it's a market-driven economy. People want to make money. Countries want to be number one, right? It's not just America, not just China. But cooperation has really been stressed when I talk to experts on this matter because the need for it is so high and so critical given the climate crisis. So that language kind of makes sense abroad. Experts I talked to said that when we hear the president be so pro-American and so anti-China, that might be a tool used in particular to kind of corral congressional support. Lots of Democrats believe this is a bipartisan issue, trying to fortify our critical mineral supply chain. So it makes sense when you hear President Biden speaking to a group of people like he did at Dearborn, Michigan yesterday. But those messages go beyond the U.S. borders, right? They have echoes throughout the world. And that's kind of the tenuous tightrope that President Biden has to walk, according to the experts I speak to.
Yeah, if there are any lessons that we can learn out of the pandemic is that when we're dealing with a global threat, the only way to beat it is through global cooperation. I can't imagine a greater global threat than climate change, so it makes an awful lot of sense. Cara, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So listen, if you want to learn more about this story, you can read Cara's full report on CBSNews.com.